when she was standing there and everyone was cheering just while everyone was lining up, she just kept looking around the arena and smiling and like she was taking it all in. Like, I can't believe I made it back here and I love it and I'm so happy. And when she fell off bars, people were chanting her name. Norbert is having a sale on climbing ropes, all the different kinds of climbing ropes, Dennis. The ropes with the like white ones, the brown ones, the different kind of apparatus, hingy things. They still don't have footholds, which is disappointing for me. Go to norberts.com for a 10% discount on anything in the store with the code GymCastic. Norberts is also giving away a $50 Norberts gift card that can be used on anything in their online store. No minimum. Just follow Norberts Athletic on Instagram and comment on the giveaway post. We are talking about everything that happened at Classic this weekend. Suni, Gabby, Shilese, Simone Biles. Today is May 20th, 2024. 68 days till the Olympics. Welcome to the #1 Gymnastics podcast in the galaxy. I'm Jessica, and I'm here with Dennis, who is filling in for Spencer, who had a successful surgery last week, so he is recovering. Denis Vachon, coach. He is also on the Paris 2024 organizing committee for gymnastics. He has coached. He is also basically an Olympic medalist because in your sport, Dennis, World Games are the Olympics, because in your TNT sport, it's not in the Olympics yet, which is a real shame because it would be very popular. And they should get rid of golf and put your sport in. It's so you got a silver medal in the scariest sport of all the sports.
Okay, whoa. I wouldn't call it scary. I mean, I didn't find it scary. It's actually sometimes, yeah, okay. Maybe you're right.
Vault and double mini are the scariest sports.
Well, you have to think about double mini as extreme vaulting. And then it comes together.
Okay. Extreme vaulting. I like it.
Right? You run at it. You hurdle onto it, and then you flip. It's not all that different.
And then you land on the small spot and flip again onto the mat. This is how we're going to get double mini into the Olympics, is we're going to add it under the extreme sports with breakdancing, climbing. What else did they add?
This is my argument. I've been making that argument for a long time, that like navigating more of like the X Games route.
Yes.
Would be a good approach, because I think it would fit very well with that crowd, because it's hit or miss, right? So it's either going to be so great that it's going to take your breath away, or it's going to be like, oh, and everyone's going to have like this big reaction. So I think you're onto something there.
Yeah, we figured it out. So I know that you can't tell us anything about specifics, but how is organizing for gymnastics going in Paris?
Oh, it's good. I think like I had never, for me, this is a very new experience. I've seen the Olympics from the floor as a coach. So it's very cool to see it from this side. And I can't really say much, but I can say that our team is awesome. Like, there's so much enthusiasm and knowledge, and like, we're just pumped and we're ready to get it going.
So the people that are like, oh, the Olympics, you shouldn't come, da, 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 da. How do you feel about, like, what would you say what would your response to that be?
I haven't really encountered anybody who isn't pro games since I moved here. I do have a lot of people I encounter who say that they're purposely taking their vacation during the games so that they can have, smooth sailing and less congestion. But, like, some of them are using it as an opportunity to rent out their condos and make a killing, right? Because they know there's a high demand. So
yes, I am staying in one of those. And I'm very pleased because it's very close to the venue and I can just walk. So I don't have to worry about anything. Nothing can get in the way. I could literally crawl there if I need to. Hopefully that doesn't happen. My God, why do I say these things out loud, Dennis?
I don't know. Listen, don't ask me. You're jinxing yourself. I'm biting my tongue over here. I'm just going to take a drink on that one.
Cutting that. Okay. So, Dennis, let's talk about the most exciting thing that's happened since we watched the Core Classic, which is what we're going to talk about today. The 2024 Classic that just happened in Hartford, where Simone came back. She did her double pike again. She won. Suni did floor. Gabby Douglas competed but scratched. this meet was amazing. But first we have to talk about the beautiful photo of Simone and her husband, which was captured. I think I'm just going to say the better version was captured by the love of my life, one Steve Cooper, fact checker. And it's a beautiful picture of like her with her grips on, reaching up in the stands to smooch her husband, and it's adorable. And apparently some people didn't care for that photo and had comments still based on his interview from back in the day, which she clarified, and she responded to his interview in her most recent interview. We've talked about this so much, so I'm not even going to talk about the interview, but she had a response to the trolls. I love the response that she gave.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah.
I'm all for it, you know?
Right.
Like, bring it on.
Yes. She said, I'm going to quickly address this. The joke was never a joke. Y'all are blatantly being disrespectful to my relationship and my husband, so I'm going to go ahead and say this one time. Respectfully, fuck off. If you keep commenting or tweeting at me, I'm just going to block you. Simple as that. And no, I don't need to touch grass or whatever y'all suggest. At everyone else that supports us, we love you so much.
Yeah, isn't that great?
Yeah. I love it.
I think, like, first of all, I love that he was there. I'm not a football person. I don't really know much about it, but I think it's really nice to see that it goes both ways, right? She was going to football games. He's going to watch her at classics. And I assume if his schedule allows him, I'm not sure what that football season looks like. I'm sure they're starting to ramp up as well. But it's nice that he's going to go and do that. And I think that shows a healthy relationship personally, that he's willing to do that. And I did see a video of him also being really excited when she landed her vault and like fist pumping, which is also good because we don't get that kind of reaction often in gymnastics. Like we do lack a bit of that energy, that enthusiasm from the crowd in that way. Like I know there's a lot of screaming people, but there's never like a rah, like that like more masculine thing. No, I think it's good. And yeah, like it's her personal life. Like just if she's chosen him, like she's old enough, she has her pickings. So if she chose him, he's good, because I'm sure if she wanted to, she could pick anybody else around her.
Exactly. That's what I feel like. I'm just like, do you think she really cares what you think about her relationship? No.
No.
That's
I just hope she can block it out a bit now, though. Like, I'm hoping that this is like, okay, I've said it and I can move on, and this doesn't become like something chirping,
right, exactly.
Which I think she's strong enough to just literally say F off.
I hope she looks at all the cameras and then kisses him really slowly with her finger in the air every time. Now there's a camera like, do you see? Yes, I don't care what you think. But I mean, there's
I'm okay if that doesn't happen.
Just a smooch. I don't mean like, but I mean, there's more important things to complain about, like Diddy. Like, why hasn't he been charged? Why hasn't he been arrested yet? Right? Complain about those are actual crimes. Like, let's handle that. I do have a story, you guys, a behind the scenes story about Simone and the family. So Simone's husband was there, obviously, and he had some people with it. I'm not sure if they were his family either, but basically they were like freaking out, which you could see a little bit, and like going side to side. Like basically imagine Allie's parents, but it's Simone's husband and friends or family with him. And they're sitting with the Bileses. And like Ron turns to Coop, because Coop's on the floor, fact checker's on the floor because he's our photojournalist. All the beautiful photos from this week. Yes. He and we will be experiencing these if you're a visual listener, or you can go on gymcastic.com and look at the photo gallery. I'm so proud of him. I'm going to talk about this 100 times. His pictures are so beautiful. So basically they're Allie parenting, like freaking out in the stands. Ron, who's Simone's dad, turns to Coop and is like jokingly says to Coop, like, oh my God, I don't know them. I don't know these people. Which I love so much. He's like, oh my God, is this like their first gymnastics meet? Calm down. But anyway, I love that moment. It's just such a, yeah.
It's probably one of their first meets, and they're probably super invested. So for them, it's very real. I would like to talk about how she then posted a picture of them getting on a private jet to go home.
Yes.
Like that to me is like, I've been waiting for the day where a gymnast is successful enough to hop on a private jet and get home.
Yes.
Like, that was my favorite part of the whole thing.
Yes.
And like, yeah, you show that you're a star. Good for you.
Also, Gabby is saying that because, we talked about if you haven't listened to the behind the scenes from podium training and then right after the competition, there's 2 of those to catch up on because there's lots of stories in those too. But I love that Gabby's had a bunch of flights canceled, as did many gymnasts coming from the Houston area. Some didn't arrive until the day of the competition and missed their podium training entirely. But Gabby got in at 6 a.m. the morning of podium training with a couple hours of sleep, only because she was able to get a private jet to fly to the meet. And I was like, yes, this is what I want for all of you. I love that.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. It's a newfound era where it's new territory for gymnastics or gymnasts to have this kind of fame, popularity, and to be able to monetize themselves. And it's long overdue.
Yes, exactly. I totally agree with that. The other thing that I want to tell you, a little behind the scenes story, Denis, and you tell me your opinion on this, because I think you can probably guess how I feel about this. So, so Coops shows me like these 3 fact checker shows me like these 3 photos of Laurent, like with his hands up, like 3 different things where he's like yelling with his hands up and, looking mean on floor. And he was like, look at this. He's like, someone had their flash on when Simone did her triple double. And all right, what are your feelings about what happens to that photographer?
I mean, is it a photographer or is it somebody in the audience?
Photographer on the floor.
Oh God, remove.
Yeah, you're done.
That's a no-brainer, right? Like that's like the first rule of sport shooting for gymnastics. To be fair, Simone probably doesn't even notice it, right? She's probably so in it, but that risk, it's too big of a risk.
Yes. Yeah. Especially, we know all the things. Simone, actually, fact checker is telling us right now, it was Simone who told Laurent. So she did notice it.
Yeah,
wow.
So that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I hope they dealt with that.
Yep. I mean, to me, we feel the same. I'm like, you are at a professional level. This should not be your first time ever doing this, and you should understand the sport. That's it. Just, you literally take their credential and security sends them out.
Yeah. You have to understand the sport, but you should also, like, maybe they did, and they just didn't check their settings, which is also not okay. Like, you expect a higher level of professionalism at that level, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
some mistakes aren't excusable.
Yeah, I do not think that person was removed, by the way. Okay, so let's talk about some other things from this weekend. And besides Simone's response to the trolls, okay, so let's talk about how core finished out. Many things will probably change in championships, which the gymnasts leave for in 7 days, which Shy kept saying every time I saw her. We leave in 7 days. It's 7 days till championships. So if Olympic trials were today, and the selection committee went by rank all around order, which is obviously wrong, but that's what they've been doing since 2016. So the Olympic team would be in rank all around order. Simone Biles with a 59.5. Yeah. In first place, Shilese Jones in second place with a 57.65. Jordan Chiles, 55.45. Big comeback from Jordan Chiles for last year. And I asked her about this. What motivated you? She's like, I like to get mad. Cecile was like, yeah, mad. Jordan does well. And she said, well, I like to remind myself what I felt like when like I talked badly to myself, like I couldn't do it. And or people would say I couldn't do it, and I'd get really pissed, and I proved them wrong, and I was like, man, whatever works. Whatever works. Jade Carey coming in fourth. She would be fourth by rank order, 54.4. Sky Blakely with her big ass beam score, which was a 13.85. And her vault of a 14 would come in fifth with a 54.35. Tiana Sumana-Sacra, who hands down for me I was like, oh shit, Cecile Laurent coming through again with pacing someone at the right time. I didn't think she had the hops basically to do the gymnastic that she's doing. We haven't seen it before. Full twisting double layout came out with really pretty full twisting double layout, because they can look
yes,
rough
all the time.
Yes. So she would be in 6th place. Then I'm going through who would be the alternates. Then Leanne Wong, then Dulcie Kaler. Also, someone that I didn't think would be up here, but she got her. They were so excited, the whole World Championships team, that Tiana and Dulcie both got in the 13s on bars. And Dulcie, who is a beautiful gymnast, 13-7 on bars. So now if you were choosing Denis, coach of Brooklyn Moors, world floor finalist, Olympic finalist, who would you choose? How would you strategize this?
Okay, first, I call myself Brooklyn's assistant.
Okay.
Not her coach.
Fair.
Just so you know, I was Brooklyn's assistant. Okay,
so
would
you take her grips off and bring her water and stuff? Like,
absolutely not. Do I look like I do that for anybody? No. But that girl was on a mission and she did what she had to do, and I was along for the ride, supporting, helping when needed. But she's the leader there. But thank you. It's very kind words.
But I love how you're putting her first, not yourself. That is why you're gonna.
Yeah, she did it.
Yeah,
she did it. I did the paperwork. She actually did it. So obviously Simone, like, I don't even know if I have enough adjectives for her. Like, I like her more as she gets older. Personally, I like her gymnastics more. I like everything. And one thing about Simone I just want to point out is I know she's the greatest. Like, she really is the best, right? Like, her difficulties above and beyond what we've seen before, and probably what we'll see for a very long time, if not ever. But, you know, I'm sure there's going to be a part in the show we're going to talk about peaking. We're going to talk about all of that. Like, Simone somehow manages to be at a high hit rate all the time, right? And so when I think of the greats that have come before her in the sport, none of them were capable of being as on as her all the time. And that's something that really stood out to me. I think Simone by Olympics will be ready to break 60, right? She was just a stronger vault landing. Had you done her vault from one touch in the competition, she probably would have got the extra 5/10, or pretty damn close.
She almost stuck her Yurchenko double pike in her one touch.
It's amazing. And that was probably adrenaline, right? So I'm sure if she can just like take it down 1% when she competes it, just to actually get like straight up off the table and not have like that backwards momentum, it's going to drop into the landing like that again. But like, so she's an automatic go, barring, you know, chaos. Chiles, again, I think her and Chiles are locks, and Chiles is the same. Like, she's at the point now where I think, like, when you watch her, you don't even have to like hold your breath. You don't have to wonder. You just know it's going to work out. And she really is beautiful. I think she's a great example of an athlete that didn't need to be like, that's coming into her own at the right time. And maybe other coaches who have kids that are a bit younger, who look like they have all the parts, but they're not coming together, like, trust the process and trust that with maturity, they'll get there. Because I think 4 years ago, a lot of people knew she was really good. Would anybody predict that she'd be doing this? You know, like, she is arguably the third best all-arounder in the world.
Yes.
Behind Simone and Rebecca. You know, like, she is the third best all-arounder in the world, which is amazing. Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked.
I mean, it's hard not to just gush because they are so incredible.
Yeah, and it just looks so simple, if that's possible, right? Like, it looks like a normal day for them. So for me, they're locks. I actually think that Jade and Suni are locks for me. And it just comes down to that last person. I'd want it to be Jordan. Like, Jordan's good, obviously. I just hope that this confidence in what she brought, I hope that keeps going. And but I think right now I'd only be comfortable with 4. And then I'd have to look at strengths and weaknesses there. You know, like, you wouldn't need another vault. Vault would be covered.
Yep.
You'd be safe on floor. You're safe on bars. If Suni does an average routine, right? She doesn't need to try to win. She could do a routine that's only worth a 5.5, and she'd get an 8.5 execution in break 14.
Yep.
Like, that's the thing, and it's probably not hard for her. I'm waiting for this bar routine of hers, because I bet you I bet you she could take out her hardest release move and just do like the rest of the routine, like an NCAA version, and still break a 14.
Yep.
And then you're kind of good on beam too, with Biles, Jones, and Lee. Kind of good. Sorry, Biles and Lee could fight for gold at the Olympics. I shouldn't say kind of good. So I don't know. You just want a strong all rounder after that.
Yep. Because,
and I don't know. We'll see who it is.
And that's the thing. Like DiCello, let's talk about this. It's like DiCello, who's also a world medalist, just like Leanne Wong, world silver medalist, in all around. They, like Leanne, I think is just she can do a little bit more to fine tune from here. Mm-hmm. But DiCello had 2 totally uncharacteristic falls, and which was super weird because she looked great in podium training. I was like, oh my God, she's here. She wants it. So my question for you about DiCello specifically is, what do you sometimes, I mean, we don't know. It's her decision, but when do you know to tell an athlete, stop, that's enough, you're doing too much, you've got it, more is not more, more is just a waste of time, it's a waste of your energy, your body? Like, when do you know it's overtraining?
Yeah, so I think we'd have to know what the year plan looked like. There's 2 ways you can approach this, right? You can peak somebody, you can do one really hard peak, one big spike for, essentially the next 6 weeks going into games. Or you could do kind of 2 smaller ones. So you could peak earlier in the year and get all your skills, choose to be a little bit lower, like at 70% right now, so that you can do the ramp up for nationals and trials, but also still have some, gas in the tank for Olympics. So I think you'd have to see, which one is that? Did they go really hard and get all her skills out early in the season to get experience, let her breathe a little bit, and now she's ramping up again? Because if that's the case, it's not a problem. But most of the people that we're talking about here are at an age where they do have to be empowered to make their own decisions. And I think you stop them only if it's getting dangerous. But hopefully you've cultivated a good enough relationship with them that they can look at you and say, I can't today. Today needs to be easier. I'm starting to feel tired. And if as a coach you hear that too many times in a week or 2, then I think you have to be like, okay, we need to do something. But I think I have no concerns about her. I don't think this was, first of all, I don't think classics is an indication of anything. I don't think anybody's made or lost their Olympic chances based on this weekend. First of all, it's not even Gymnova equipment, which is the Olympic equipment, right?
Let's talk about
nationals. That. Well, in 1 minute, please. Nationals, they're not gonna arrive the day of podium training or late in the evening before podium training. They'll be there a bit sooner. So I don't know that you necessarily got everybody fully at their best and fully rested. I think you got a lot of people just going through the motions and kind of feeling it out.
Yeah. So let's talk about the equipment, because the one thing I will say I totally appreciated is the athletes seem to really like Spieth equipment. And I love that the Germans were literally on the floor. They had their own table with all their equipment stuff. They had the little Spieth table. I got to use some of my German and chat with them. They were there making sure, like, almost everyone adjusting the bars. The Germans were up there. I love that. I love when the equipment is taken seriously. Because it is literally a life and death sport, and it's very, very important. The little tension meter. I love the tension meter so much, Dennis. I can't tell you. All the years I was like, why don't you use a tension meter like the men do? We don't need it. Just feel the bar. And you had to do that, but now you have science. Anyway, I love the science. Because I can't remember the tension. So for me, I would always have to look at the meter. That's what I would use. Yeah, of course you could. I'm sure you did.
Stresses me out. Science. I agree. Give me data and give me real facts. Don't give me no, I'm okay.
Feelings, yeah.
I think it's just, Gymnova equipment's amazing. And so is Spieth, right? But they're all one company. It's one parent company that owns them both. It's, but there's just some nuances with every equipment supplier and with everything. Everything that they use, even, Sanoa, which is what we used in Japan, great equipment. It's just a bit different. And so I'll be interested to see if they do their next meets on Gymnova style bars, especially because I remember that from coaching is the athletes always said that bars was the harder one. to adjust to.
Yep.
So, and there were a lot of fluky things on bars. So maybe that's what's happening. Maybe people are actually have switched to Gymnova in their own gyms and then only had a podium training practice to get used to speed. And maybe that's why things were a bit wonky. Because there were a lot of mistakes on bars and like weird things, like things that don't need to happen.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. There were so many falls in this meet that I was just like, what is that? I stopped counting. I like to keep count.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, I'm giving up now. It's too much.
Yeah, but like remember too, like I like to remind people, like this is classic, so nobody should have been at 90% or 100% yet.
Yep.
Like that was the perfect time to fall. Really, if there's going to be a time, and maybe the fall here, like maybe DeCello, maybe falling here took off a bit of stress and pressure that she had coming in by doing so well at that Winter Cup meet. Because I'm sure that's created a lot more buzz for her. I'm sure that's also intimidating when you're not used to being part of the A group conversation. I'm sure you put on a lot of extra stress on yourself as well. So maybe that's what we're going to get. Maybe she will go home and now she gets a clean, fresh slate. People are probably thinking a little bit less of her, which is always a mistake to think less of anybody in this sport. And so maybe that's what we're going to get. Hot gymnastics at nationals.
Woo! I want to pause for a little GymCastic update. One, thanks to everybody that came to the meetup. And thank you to our organizer, our listener who organized the whole thing. It was so nice to meet everybody. And my biggest hope at meetups is like you meet fellow gym nerds, because a lot of people are like, this is my first meet in person and I brought like a friend or my mom or whatever. And I'm always trying to introduce people like, here's other people that live here too. Now other gym nerds you can go to meets together. I mean, there's like groups that have started like this and have gone to meets for years and years and have like an annual meetup and like love seeing each other. Like I love that kind of stuff. So thanks to everybody who came to the meetup. We have a bunch of bonus episodes coming up. So just like we did the extra behind the scenes right after podium training, right after the meet, doing the same thing for US championships next week. And as always, Club Gym Nerd members get the extra stuff with the good stories. All the behind the scenes stories. And so we're doing that at championships, at Olympic trials. We have our Olympic trials live show coming up where the Olympic team will be announced. And then all the fluttering flip goes by and the confetti goes off, and then you can take your pictures, try to get an autograph, and then walk 900 feet away to our venue and get a cocktail, meet some other gym nerds, and we will talk about the team that has just been announced. I'm so excited for this. And
you're going to need multiple cocktails. Multiple.
Oh my God. So there's also an early bird discount that expires on Friday for the virtual and in-person tickets to the live show at Trials. And then we have, of course, Paris Olympics, where Denis and I will be, and we will have, and it's almost every single day of Olympics that we have a bonus, an episode, and then extra stuff for our Club Gym Nerd members. So, and of course, merch. If you don't have your Simone freaking Biles tapestry to hold up, it's called a tapestry. It's just called a banner. I don't know why they call them tapestries, but get one of those to hold up, or shirts. There were so many of those shirts. Those were in our store. And fantasy coming up. We'll have fantasy for championships as well, a new fantasy league. So
I need to do that.
It's hard.
I really want to. I didn't get a chance to this time around, and I I so badly need to do fantasy because I want to win.
This is the thing. Now we also have Ozone is sponsoring our little Leos on there. So you can pick a Leo to avatar to represent. Yes. And my favorite one is not, I don't think it's the most used. And I'm like, what's wrong with you people? Like, do you not see? Anyway, I'll tell you which one is my favorite after you try it. But the thing that's hard about the fantasy and why, especially at this meet, the budget is set, so you have to care about everyone. You can't just follow the stars. And like, this is the kind of thing that's important when you're putting together an Olympic team. Like, if you're just looking at it all around, you're missing a Suni Lee. All right, she's a star. That's not a good example. But you might be missing a Tiana, or you might be missing a Kalia Lincoln. So like, you have to put it together with all the available gymnasts. I want to go back to Simone for a moment, because I want to play this clip from Cecile Landy talking about Simone and the double pike. because a lot of media asked why Laurent wasn't up there giving a spot. And here's what she said.
At training, she's been doing it without him for a while now, and she just feels ready. Honestly, she was ready last year. I think Laurent was not ready last year. Let's put it that way.
Did she come to you guys and say, I want to do it, or how did it come about?
No, I think it just came organically, you know. At training, she was fine, and then that's it. And today was the first time without a spot or standing there, so it was a huge deal.
Why was Laurent not ready last year?
As a coach, you have a lot of responsibility, and I definitely don't want anybody to get hurt if we can prevent it, and that's such a hard skill, and it was her first season back after everything that happened in Tokyo. It was not worth taking any kind of risk.
The next question is there something Laurent and you needed to see before you felt comfortable?
I think we need to see her like she's today.
That was Scott Bregman from the Olympic Channel and Nancy Armour from USA Today who are asking those questions. And if you're not following Nancy Armour on USA Today, I highly recommend. She's another one. Don't miss her coverage because it's excellent. And her analysis is excellent. Have you, one thing I want to say is like, it's crazy how fast we have adjusted to her doing the Yurchenko double pike from like, it be like stopping the arena to being like, yeah, she did it. Oh my God. Like, let's not get used to this. If you saw it in person or if you've seen it in your lifetime, revel that you are alive in the time of Simone Biles. That's what I would just like to remind everyone because it's insane how good it is. I also want to show this photo that is a comparison of two different techniques on vault. And I just want to talk about them because I want to talk about, we cannot say enough about how good Simone is. And I think this is another thing about her doing these skills since she was like 9 years old, including the Yurchenko double she has done before, not the double pike, but the Yurchenko double, how good her technique is. So one of the images is Konnor McClain. And this is a warm up. This is, Konnor has great technique, but I just want to point out, like, what do you see in this photo, Denis, as a coach?
I mean, she's just crunched in, right? Like she's not an extension, so she's not going to get her max bump. You can tell here that it's a twisting vault already because you can see that like the one hip's dropped and the one shoulder's lifting a little. And she's a great vaulter as well, right? Like she's a very secure vaulter. You don't think twice that she's not going to do a solid vault. But yeah, just a bit crunched in, not extended enough.
Yeah. And this is, I'm not saying anything about Konnor. Konnor's amazing. And obviously her technique is so good. I think this is why it's a great example to look at. And then we're looking at a picture of Simone Biles on the table. What do you see, Denis?
Perfection. Yeah, right. Shoulder angle is like it's solid and locked in. Even like the height of her feet, right? Like they're not dragging behind. They've come up with the body, and it's just going to be straight up from the table. You can tell. Yeah. I think it'd be interesting to do the same kind of comparison with a vault from Michaela Maroney.
Yes.
Like this to me, this you see from Biles, you see from Maroney, and you see from Andrade, and I'm not sure you see it from anybody else.
Yep. Honestly, it's so far superior to even the other great technicians in the sport that this is why she can do these skills. I mean, famously, Maroney turned her hands the other way, like a lot of the men do. And when I asked her about that, she was like, yeah, it just felt right to me. So I always did it like I was a coach too, which is another thing. Like her coach let her do what felt natural to her. But I love that comparison. I do want to talk about Konnor because this is so sad and so awful. She had such a great season at LSU, freshman. They win the national championship. She said she was still working on her elite skills throughout season. Her coaches definitely figured out the code because she came in second. Is it second on beam? She came in third on beam with a 14.2. Behind Suni Lee and Simone Biles, the Olympic champions, which shows, and she did it without a dismount. She did a layout.
Yeah, I know. I think, first of all, it's awful. Like Achilles are, for lack of better words, assholes. Like truly, they're terrible. But like she's young. I don't think we've seen the last of her. She's so good too. That she'll come back from this. Like like it never happened. But that 2-foot layout is a work of art. It's a work of art. So it's not shocking that she plays that high without a dismount. Who needs a dismount? She should be allowed to do it without a dismount. That's how good she is. She should be able to just jump off and be like, I'm done.
And I love that she came back out afterwards and she got on the podium. It was so giving like Carrie Shrug in that moment where she was standing there with her Achilles all wrapped up. It's confirmed Achilles, by the way. And, her crutches on the ground. At least she had crutches, not unlike Carrie, but is standing there balancing on one foot the whole time and went and got her medal and got to stand there, with Suni and Simone on the podium. So I just
hope that like things have changed a lot in gymnastics, right? Like the culture has shifted quite a bit, and everyone's realizing you can do it when you're older. So I just hope that although she's going to be disappointed, I hope that she's able to just get that perspective of not the end for me. I still have time. And for 2028, she'll be done university. So she won't just have like a condensed period to get ready. She'll have a nice long time to start prepping that and getting ready. And somebody of that talent won't lose her talent. It'll all still be there. It'll just be about managing her time and her body. And she'll just get better at that with age.
Much like, talk about managing her body, you're not going to lose that talent. Gabby Douglas.
Oh, she can do no wrong in my mind.
Same.
Yeah. I don't even care that it didn't go well for her. It sucks for her, but like, I just think it's awesome that she's out there. I think it's awesome that she's trying, not just trying, but like, who comes back at 28 and adds new skills, like those pirouettes, right? Like, talk about doing it for joy. She could have just come back and just done same old, not really changed anything, but instead she's growing. She's still growing as an athlete at 28. I think it's amazing. Crappy didn't go well, like that sucks, but I'm interested to see what they do with her.
Yes.
For nationals.
I
would like to talk about nationals.
Yeah, so let's talk about nationals after we talk a little more about Gabby. So I wanted to say, like, so she fell. So here's what happened at the meet. She fell twice on bars. I mean, she fell once. She just didn't get her hand around on one of the pirouette, the Lee-ling, the one hand turning. It's amazing. And one she just jumped off. And then she decided to scratch the meet. And I talked about this in the behind the scenes, but like what I loved about watching her this time, when she was standing there and everyone was cheering just while everyone was lining up, she just kept looking around the arena and smiling, and like she was taking it all in. Like, I can't believe I made it back here and I love it and I'm so happy. And when she fell off bars, people were chanting her name.
Well, I was actually wondering, because that first meet that she did, what was that last meet called?
American Classic. It's the American Classic. It's a golf classic.
Right. Okay. But to me, that wasn't really a real competition back for her, because it's in a gym. There's not like a full arena. This to me was really the first big competition for her. And, she won the Olympics 12 years ago. So there's a lot of the people in that stadium that were probably under the age of 5 or 6 when she won the Olympics. I'm sure that the amount of support, the amount of cheering that happened when her name was called, she probably wasn't prepared for that. Because watching it, I was not prepared for that. Especially with the star that Simone is, and just like the current generation is so popular. Right, like they're more popular now, even the ones that aren't Simone, than Gabby was when she won. Right, like it's just the way that gymnastics is growing, and so I wonder if that played a little bit into her psyche, if that was a little bit distracting, if that made the stress level bump a little bit higher. And then scratching the meat, I don't have Twitter anymore, but I've had people send me a couple of like little screenshots that were maybe not the nicest towards her, and like where she's at, or the idea that she scratched. And I think, like, I don't know, if you're that out of it, gymnastics is way too scary and way too dangerous to keep going. So if you have a routine and you can acknowledge, like, you know what, I'm not with it, and things can go sour real fast, and I still have a meet in 10 days. So I'm just going to wrap this up for today. Then I think good for her. Good for her that she made that decision. If she was standing there in the gym happy and smiling, then she probably was not overly upset with the decision. Right? So I don't know. I think, again, it's classics. I don't look too much into this.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, it's not the first time that someone has, I mean, she took herself out of the meet, but it's not the first time Simone was, you know, famously taken out of a classic when Amy Bourne was like, this is too dangerous. You're not competing. And Simone was pissed. But
yeah, it's just not worth it, right? If you're thinking big picture, and she's 28, like if she makes the Olympics, awesome. If she doesn't, she has responsibilities. She has a mortgage to pay. She has she has things to do. She can't afford to be, out, for lack of better words, because something goes horribly wrong. There's just no time for that. Like that is one thing I think that changes as you get older as well, right? Like I think when they're maybe more in the teen, early adult stage, as a coach, you've really got to step up and make the decision for them.
Yeah.
Because their perspective isn't there yet. They haven't lived enough. They haven't experienced enough to know what's the goal and what are you striving for. When you get to 28, like you realize that there's more to life than just gymnastics. And so gymnastics needs to complement your life. And if the next hour and a half is not going to complement your life, don't do it.
Yep.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Yes, I love how you put that. Speaking of that, I feel so privileged to have been able to go watch her journey from a child who does gymnastics and is exceptional, the best on the planet, to come back and make another Olympics and be third all around and have that incredible experience. She had been Olympic champion again with the team in 2016, and then to see her as a grown-ass woman doing it. Because the thing is, like, your body and your power changes too as you get older. And I always say this, like, I wish so many gymnasts would have the experience of competing or just doing, you don't have to compete, do adult gymnastics for fun like I did until I was like 38 and Lyme disease ruined my life. But that's another podcast. I know. But like, it's just so different to experience, like, especially the power that you have as an adult and like the mind that you have is so different. And when you get to make all your own decisions, that's the other best part about it. Like, I just want to work on backspins the whole day. I mean, that's what I did until I gave myself I took the skin off my back. I did too many. Just a small area.
I don't want to unpack that right now. I've already finished this glass of wine and I didn't open another bottle. So I would like to move on.
I didn't get to do it when other people were making the decisions for me. Anyway, so Gabby is scratched after that. She is qualified to compete on vault, bars and beam at championships. She cannot petition to do all around at championships. She cannot petition to do all around at championships. We will never see that floor routine, which is, in my opinion, the best floor routine that's being done, unless she makes it to trials. Please.
I have thoughts.
Okay. Tell me your thoughts.
Okay, nationals, first of all. So 45 people qualified. I looked at the qualification list. So it's going to be 2 subdivisions again, which I think is great in a sense, right? Like that's awesome for the US that you have that much depth. I think it's really crucial for the next gen because they are a bit overshadowed by this current generation. So it's good for them to go get that experience. So obviously it's going to be 2 groups, but I think personally that they need to let everybody do all 4 events. If I was USA Gymnastics, if I was Alicia and Chelsea, I would be saying everyone can do all around, but if you didn't qualify, you're not eligible for awards on the event or the all around. But I would want to see the full picture of everybody who's vying for a spot on my Olympic team. And also when it comes to like a meet, I think it's better. If everyone does everything in terms of how the meet runs, because there's less dead time, right? And so from an audience or a broadcasting perspective, that's a bit better. And I think NBC would love it if USAG found a way to have Gabby do all around. Like I'm also thinking of it from like a marketing thing. Like it's it's, it's just too important. But again, if you haven't made all 4 events, do it for experience. You don't have to factor into the awards. It's not adding time into the event. You've already had 45 people qualify. So guess what? It's going to be long, regardless. But I would want to see a full picture of everybody coming in.
The way the rules read, because she's already competed all around, you can't try and mess up and then petition your way. I don't like punishing people who aren't ready now, or just for you tried and you failed, so now you don't get to do it. Like, I don't see the point of that, especially since specialists are the most important thing in my life.
Well, you also want to be in a position where you're encouraging people to gain experience, right? So you don't want to encourage people to not do their routines in competition setting, because how do you test your elements? How do you test how they're received? How do you test what gets credited? Right, which is, I mean, I think that's another part of classics that we can talk about after. But you want them trying. You at least want to see where they're at, and then you can guide the process a bit better. Maybe if they look a bit lost, or if they look like they're struggling. And it's not like she missed that all around score by a lot. You're talking about, she missed it by like 3.5 tenths, 4 tenths. With
and it's
how many mistakes?
Right. She had like 4 falls and missed it by, I mean, was it 3 or 4 falls at that classic? And
she had 3 and just some, right? Some ifs. It's like some, so I'm like, that looks cool.
Yeah. And I mean, she could have done it here if she hadn't scratched. She could have done it here. But floor routine needs to be seen. But I do want to talk about the rules update, because I want to talk about how that has to do with Konnor too, because Konnor also had 1 shot and could not petition. So because of how the rules are written. So let's listen to this answer from Alicia Sacramone when I asked, can you please explain these rules specifically, who can petition and who cannot? Because what you're talking about there, the encouraging people not to get experience, Suni could have been doing bars this whole time, the last 2 classes, and she didn't, to preserve her opportunity to petition. And that's just ridiculous. You want Suni to do all the bars. We saw her do all the routines in podium training. So here's Alicia.
It is very complicated. So if you have competed all around, say at American Classic, compete all around, you don't get the score at American Classic, but you got the 3 event score or 2 event score. You are qualified with the 2 or 3 event score. But then if you come here, you cannot petition after doing all around at a different competition to try to get the score. So if you wanted to get the score from here after not getting it, the all-around score from American Classic, you have to do all-around here to get the championship all-around score. So you can still go compete on your 2 or 3 events, but you cannot do the all-around.
Suni can petition because she never did all-around. Gabby did all-around, so she cannot petition. And I'm like, she could try.
It's kind of annoying though, right? Because if you remember, and maybe a lot of the listeners are too young to remember this, I don't know, but like if you remember Gabby back in 2011, you would have never picked her to be Olympic champion in 2012. She needed to compete. And there are some kids that need to compete a lot. Suni is not one of those kids. You can tell, right? Like if that girl decides she's good to step up, it's because she's going to be great, right? It's fluky if she has a mistake. That is not, like, she's one of those natural gamers. Not every kid's like that. And Gabby needed to compete. And so I've heard some rumblings as well from people saying, oh, she shouldn't have done all around at that other meet. She should have preserved the opportunity. But maybe that doesn't play into her strengths or who she is as an athlete. Like maybe she's somebody who needs to get out there. And so everybody's a bit different. And I'm really shocked that they didn't preserve a little bit more, sometimes, or more control in that process as a federation. I think sometimes people are so upset with how the last regime did whatever they wanted that the pendulum has swung too far to the other side. And it's like all the horrible things that happened under that regime were not because they exhibited control on those minute, fine, deep. Like that's not why hell broke loose and things went sour.
Yep.
Right. But sometimes I think the change is a bit misplaced. And unfortunately, sometimes you need a really weird situation to happen before people go, oh shit,
this was a bad idea. Encouraging people not to do gymnastics is a bad idea. That's what I think. which also this was the problem with the code too. But anyway, yeah, I don't like it. I do want to talk about a question that we had on behind the scenes, which I had not seen, and about Konnor's Achilles injury on floor during her second event it was her second event warm up. And I want to show this photo that Coop took, and it shows Konnor on the floor being tended to, and Simone is just sitting on the mat next to her, just in that general corner. And Simone is just looking away, chilling. Cecile's standing there watching what's happening. And someone asked how warm-ups work if they get more time added on when there's an injury like this. And the answer is yes. When it's on the floor like that and no one can go, yes, you get time added on. I think, and Simone did eventually like turn around and look, but I don't know. I feel like we talked about this behind the scenes, but I think when you've been in the sport, you've seen this stuff happen like a million times. So unless I think it's harder when it's someone you're super close to, and if it's like the third time that, it has happened. But what do you do as a coach to like, when that's going on and you're waiting, what do you do?
I would definitely encourage them not to look. First of all, nobody needs that. If I was the person that was hurt, I wouldn't want people looking and staring at me. Second of all, I don't want people being reminded that that's where it could go. The last thing you want is somebody second guessing themselves or questioning themselves. And I would probably do a little reminder with my athletes afterwards to say, we don't know what happened. It could actually be nothing. And it's better that they exercise precaution over anything else, right? So yeah, I would keep it simple, and I would try to almost decatastrophize it a little bit, right? To lower that anxiety and that stress that comes with it. But it's true, right? Like we see people go down all the time, like, and sometimes it really is nothing, but it felt odd. And that was enough to be like, I'm not moving until I have confirmation that I'm okay.
Yep.
And that's fine.
Yeah, that's smart.
Right? Again, because there's more to life than gymnastics.
Yep.
So
exactly.
So maybe that's what was going through her mind too. Like maybe she was thinking this is nothing, or hoping maybe this is nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I would do. Decatastrophize, bring it down a notch, especially until you know.
I was talking to Denis before we started the show about Storyworth because I got it from my mom, he got it for his mom, and he was talking about how much he's learned about her and like things he never knew about her life. And I was thinking about my dad, because Father's Day is coming up, and there are stories about my dad's life that I never get tired of hearing about. I don't know if I've told you guys before, but like he was a spy, and he lived in Berlin during the time when it was East and West Berlin, and he has all these spy stories. And like they are funny, and sometimes I didn't believe them, but then we went to the spy museum and found that they were true. And I wish I had something like Storyworth when he was alive to give to him, because these stories are insane, and there are so many I've heard from other family members. So just in time for Father's Day, there is a great gift that you can give to the father in your life or father figure in your life, and it's called Storyworth. And Storyworth helps preserve precious memories and stories from your father or father figure in your life forever. Here's how it works. Each week, Storyworth emails your loved one a thought-provoking question that you can help pick. So, what is the craziest thing that's ever happened to you? That's an example. When in life have you felt the most alone? What gave you strength during those times? Like, they're like deep, thought-provoking things. Like, my mom's kind of been like, I don't know how in depth I want to get on this. Do I want to tell all my deepest, darkest secrets? And I'm like, Mom, you don't have to like tell us anything you don't want to tell us. But one of the things I wish I would have asked my dad was, what was your favorite Irish or Italian tradition growing up? Storyworth makes the writing process a breeze. All your loved one needs to do is to respond to an email with a story, long or short. It doesn't matter. You'll be emailed a copy of your loved one's responses as they're submitting these over the course of a year. You'll get to enjoy the retelling of stories you already know, or be surprised by stories you've never heard before, which has definitely happened with my mom. After the year of fun, Storyworth compiles your loved one's stories and photos into a beautiful keepsake hardcover book that you'll be able to share and revisit for generations to come. You can even keep the book for yourself. Me and my sister are getting a copy of the book, and we also plan to give this to my mom's granddaughters and to my brother. Families love Storyworth. That's why it has more than 25,000 five-star reviews on Trustpilot, with millions of stories preserved since they were founded over 10 years ago. Give all the fathers in your life a unique, heartfelt gift you'll all cherish for years. Storyworth. Right now, save $10 on your first purchase when you go to storyworth.com/gymcastic. That's storyworth.com/gymcastic, GYMCASTIC, to save $10 on your first purchase.
Club Gym Nerd. Get discounts and first dibs on live show tickets, and extra podcast every week, athlete dossiers, code guides, commission your own segments of the show. It also makes a great gift. Check it out at gymcastic.com at the Join the Club tab.
I want to go back to Chiles for a second because I want to talk about her bars and how she has such a gigantic bar score, 15.25, 6.5D. When she does the half out, it'll be a 6.6. And I also love that her coach, Sarah Korngold, started a Twitter today and just was answering people's questions, because I have said over and over from my informed discussions with coaches, including Sarah, like, what is the point? Why is she doing the routine the way she's doing it? And like I said on behind the scenes and reassured people earlier, like, because this is the right routine construction for her, because she's not trying to make the team with this routine. She's trying to win an Olympic gold medal and beat her competition. And so this is not the highest bar score in the world. So Chen Yuan got with a 7.2D at Chinese Nationals, got a 15.566, which is even higher than Nemours 15.433, which is at an FIG meet, to be fair. But if you've seen this bar routine, I think you can be like, I don't think a 15.566 is insanely out of the realm.
Yeah. No, God, no. And I think for Chiles and Simone especially, their scores don't change that much domestically to international, because they are very clean. So the deductions they take are deductions in the moment. Like, they don't have a lot of built-in deductions before they even start. They're actually capable of doing every element pretty much perfect, right? And this routine to me is really smart. What you'll notice that's similar to her routine and like Kalia's is the amount of kip cast handstands. So I had to do a project a few years ago for a Canadian funding company, and part of it was building almost like a game on how you build the gold medal routine for the Olympics. And we were trying to guess what it would take to win the gold on every event. And when you looked at the results from Worlds, the entire quad, it came down to 3 kip cast handstands or less. And because then it was linking more and more elements, right? Yeah. And so the more DE elements that you have linked, first of all, your start value can start going through the roof. But second of all, kip cast handstands are like really easy way to A, get tired, and B, lose those little 0.1s, 0.2s, especially if you're going to do something like a handstand half, because there's very few handstand halves that don't get a 0.3 deduction, because people tend to be super late, especially when they're tired. So you watch Chilene's routine, and it's genius. She avoids any kip handstand halves. She only has 3 kips. Most people you would never encourage to do 2 full pirouettes. But she wrote the book on full pirouettes.
Yes.
Right?
Finishing right in handstand.
It's smart for her.
For a second. Yep.
Yeah, like I think her coach is brilliant. She gave her a routine that plays fully into her strengths. And you know what? If the routine's a bit off, she's still going to score a mid 14 at worst, which is going to still help the US. But yeah, why not put a routine together that's going to set you up to try for gold?
Yep.
Right?
Exactly.
And honestly, if it doesn't happen and she only scores a 14.9, guess what? She's just going to come third again like she did last year at Worlds.
Yeah.
So why not? Go. And again, it's great construction. 3 kip cast handstands.
Yep. And she has room to upgrade. Yeah. This is what you're doing when you're just trying to do the least deductions to get on a team versus you're trying to win. Like, this is the Becky Downey thing. Like, Becky Downey, she's trying to win. She's not just trying to get there.
Exactly.
That's the difference. Like, yes, she could do an easier routine. So that was really exciting to watch. And I'm so
and she has room to grow in that routine, right? Like, the 2 of the hop changes, like the last one for the dismount, it was a bit late. Dismount, she can get rid of that cowboy a little bit. Like, she could be a 15.5.
Yep.
And she had I feel like after her Maloney, she had a bit of a weird leg thing on the backswing, right? Which is not typical for her.
Yep.
Normally she's a bit cleaner. So give it 2 months.
Yeah.
She could easily get a 9-0 execution. I shouldn't say easily. She's a rarity because she could get a 9-0 execution.
Extremely rare. Normally you just have to get over the vault to get a 9 execution. I was happy to see that
Not at this meet.
I was very happy to see that there were some 7s in the E-scores on vault. And I was like, thank God.
Okay. That's one thing I noticed about this meet. I felt they were actually a bit they were a little kind, I find, on beam and floor. I shouldn't say kind, but it's almost like they didn't differentiate well between good and average. Like that gap to me didn't looked a bit too narrow. But vault, like, they were tough. If you had a sloppy entry or if you were a bit soft on post flight, like, you knew it. In the past you'd watch a US meet and you'd see every Yurchenko double twist scoring between 14 and 14.5. And I think there was only 2 or 3 that broke 14 here. So, you had to be exceptional.
Yep.
Which is good. That's what you want.
That's what you want. It shouldn't be easy to get 9s on vault execution when it's almost impossible in every other event. Suni Lee, I want to talk about her beam score as well. She also won beam with an easy dismount. She said her gaining full, which easy. It's terrifying. Have you ever tried that? Even off like a diving board? It's so.
First of all, absolutely not. Why would I try that off a diving board? First of all, I don't do things like that. I sit by the water with a drink in my hand. I don't go in the water.
What was I thinking? I'm so sorry, Denis. Oh my God, you're too beautiful to get wet. I don't.
No, that's not why. It's because
that's why.
I wouldn't get out. I wouldn't make it, and it would be so embarrassing. And people would be like, "How have you gotten to this age without learning how to swim?" And I'd be like, "I don't know."
You don't know how to swim?
Oh yeah, no.
Denis,
it makes me uncomfortable.
Denis, we're going
back to Suni.
All right, no, I am teaching you how to swim. We're going somewhere in the world. You pick the spot. I will meet you there, and I'm teaching you how to swim. It's a life-saving skill. You cannot not know how to swim, especially with climate change. You're gonna need it. Never know when you'll be in a flash flood.
Okay. I have to tell you, you know what worried me a little bit about coming on this episode? Both of us wheezed when we laughed really hard, and I was really afraid that we would both laugh at the same thing, and then all you would have was wheezed.
That is the signature. That's how you know it's gymcastic. If they're just like a wheeze coming out of. Speaking of which,
now it just happens. That's embarrassing.
I met some kids at the meetup who, just now this is the first time they've seen the person that they've heard wheeze giggle on for their, like, as they've grown up, because we've been around for so long now. There's like middle schoolers who are like, "You're the voice I've heard." I was like, "Oh God, you've been listening to this your whole life?"
I'm sorry.
Should you? Anyway, okay. I wanted to talk about Suni, and while you think of a place for us to meet in the world for me to teach you how to swim. Okay, I insist on this. One beam with their easy dismount, the gainer full. Now, Zhao Yang 7.2 Chinese nationals was her D score, 15.466. That routine from Zhao is the most perfect beam I think I have ever seen since Soviet compulsories.
Yeah.
It's that good. If she does that at the Olympics, like, she wins hands down. But it's beam. Sometimes it decides to throw you off of it. So Suni's amazing. Suni did floor, which was so great because we saw that she could do it, has the stamina. I mentioned on behind the scenes that I went out to this really nice sushi place, and Suni was there. So the fact that she can, go out and eat food in the wild now and doesn't have to make it in her room or have her coach make it to make sure it's safe for her is a very good sign.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Yep. Overall in the meet, I want to know from you, because you come from a different system than ours, and I want to know who you think is doing it right. Who are your choices for gymnasts doing it right, coaches doing it right, judging is right?
Well, I think Suni's doing it right for herself, first of all. I think she's being paced well. I'm not somebody who's concerned that she won't be able to pull it off. Also, I think if she can't pull it off, if she can't get back to being able to do 2 days in gymnastics, I don't think it'll be the end of her from like a person perspective, right? Like it'll just be unfortunately what life handed her. But they're doing it right by introducing little things, and she's still very competitive, right? Like again, we said she could have done a bar routine. She could have scored 14 on bars this weekend, I have no doubt. And then she probably would have been like 3rd or 4th all around, probably 4th all around. And her floor probably has another 5 or 6 tenths to grow, just in errors, like small errors that she made. And she's going to get there. She doesn't mean to throw a double on vault, but she probably will want to if she's ready and if she's strong. But Suni to me is somebody who, like if that double is not ready until qualifications of the Olympics, who cares?
Right.
Right. So I think she's doing it well. Overall, I think most people are doing it right, because I think coaches, what you see is they're all doing it in the way that's right for their specific athlete, which is good. In the past, you saw too many people trying to apply the same formula.
Yep.
And everybody's a bit different. So you have to cater to your own athlete. I think it's clear by how it went that nobody has peaked too early, right? Like there's still room to grow. So that's positive. I was most impressed, I think, by Dulcie.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd seen her once, or I'd heard of it, and I just and she's so easy to watch, right? Actually, you know what? The WCC beam rotation, is very easy to watch, right? Like it is. It's easy. I don't think they counted a fall. Definitely not in the second. In the second group, in the later rotation, they all were spot on.
Yep.
So that was really good. Sometimes it bothers me when I see, and I have a full thought here, so avoid judgment on the beginning. I get curious when I see certain jumps in floor routines as to why they're there. And when I count elements and I notice that there's too many, like Leanne Wong, she's freaking amazing. I'm a Wonginator, like I'm obsessed with her. And if I liked wearing bows, I would buy some. Okay. I may buy some just to support her. Okay.
I love that.
And I'll gift them to my nieces or something. I don't know. But she had a straddle full and a split full in her floor routine, and they're in the same box in the code of points. So the second one didn't even count.
Yep.
And that's not new. That's like from 2017. Like that's not a new rule. So like that's annoying. And then the hop full, I don't know what that thing's called. Like that.
Oh yeah, let's take a look at this, because this is
What's that called?
We have a GIF of this, or a still of it. I just call it a hop full turn with leg above horizontal. Yeah, like Jade, because Jade sometimes. Are you talking about Jade?
I wasn't talking about her specifically. There were
anyone
a lot
that
of them.
does it. Oh yeah, there are a lot of them, and like Jade, sometimes she gets a 5.8D and sometimes she gets a 5.9, and I guess they're just like, well, we'll see if sometimes.
Leave that on.
Yeah, I thought she made it with her leg up this time, and then I looked at it again, and when we rewatched everything, and I was like, oh, once again, not going to get credit. But go ahead.
Yeah, so like I don't understand really why people are going for this, because there's I would just do a perfect switch split personally, right? I would just do the perfect B switch split, because it's so much easier. Like on jumps, I think people you have to remember that it's not just there's amplitude that can be taken, there's the full split, but then there's also body posture. And that jump is impossible to do without rounding. Like it's just too awkward.
Yep.
Right? And the person for me that it was the least desirable on, or that annoyed me the most, was seeing it on Jordan Chiles, because Jordan really has a perfect switch split. And so hers was so flat, like it wasn't high at all. She barely got off the floor, first of all. And so there's a deduction. She didn't shape well. There's a deduction. It kills the rhythm in the series. So then they land that jump with no momentum, and they have to rebuild all the momentum. So it's more physically taxing. Like things like that are, to me, are a bit frustrating because, again, perfect switch split. Okay, you count a B instead of potentially counting a C, like, but you're saving yourself 4/10 in execution potentially, so you're actually getting ahead. So that to me was a bit like annoying. And the other one's the gojons, like the tourjete with a full on the way down. But I think for classics, it's fine to take that risk because I think, again, you're not at 100%. And if I was a coach and I wanted to test and see how something's going to score and whether or not it's going to get credited, I would way rather do it here than do it at Olympic trials.
Yep.
So, I would like to give people a bit of, I would like to give them a bit of rope and assume that maybe they were testing it and they will get feedback afterwards from judges, and they'll consult judges and they'll have a chat and they'll examine what the score would look like with the easier version, the other version, and they'll make a different decision, in the future.
Yeah.
But it is hard to do it in the moment, right? Because you land your jump facing the other way, you have to change your dance. Like, not everybody can also adapt on the fly.
Yep. But I think this is a good point because so many of the athletes, I think one of the big, really good changes about camp and what happens now is the middleman is cut out. The gymnast can go straight to the judges, talk to them, and ask, "What am I getting credit on? What am I not getting credit on? Is it even worth doing this because I got credit? But like you said, my shaping is so bad. I'm getting so many tenths. I might as well stop doing that skill." And I think that was happening at the meet. A lot of coaches right in between sessions were going to the judges and asking them for the feedback and talking about it and getting their getting feedback. And also, I think one of the things that I think happens differently in the US system that happens in other systems is in other systems, like the coach, the athlete, and the judges are on the same team at camp, and they are available for feedback and to help you make sure you have the best construction. And that's what the whole national team staff is there to do, to every time be like, "You're not getting credit. Do you know this isn't that value anymore? Do you know you should change this? It's not worth it because you're getting so many deductions." All of those kind of things to help them with their routine construction. And sometimes, like you said, you're working with the gymnast. Like I see so many people online being like, "Oh my God, why are they doing this?" And it's like, well, because the gymnast can't do anything else that they're going to get credit for, or this is their only options. Is they're working with what they have with the gymnast. It's not like they don't know this, but I think in this system, I don't always see the effort necessarily all the time from the national team staff, including the judges, approaching proactively always the coach and the athlete and being like, "Why are you doing this? Let's try this. Let's see if we can," like that team effort. Sometimes it happens, it's ignored. Don't get me wrong, but I wish there was, more of that sometimes.
Yeah, that's what that was a system that I felt that I had when I worked like in artistic gymnastics here in Canada. Like we had a judge that was paired with our athletes, and like that's who you consulted all the time, and you always ask questions. Now, I will say they never ever told you what to do. They would just present you with all the facts and you made the decision, right? But I did find it super helpful. But we would then go like try different strategies at certain meets, like try the harder jump at one meet and see how it goes.
Yep.
And because you do have to try sometimes. You've got to see. It's no different than beam connections. Like you've got to throw those combos in and see what's being credited, what's not. You also have to see maybe the athlete does it really well in the gym, and then under stress, they pull back a little and it changes a bit. Well, you don't know. You don't know until you do it. So you do have to give them the opportunity to help guide your decision making as well. And I think, again, if you're already qualified and you're at Classics for experience and to prep yourself for nationals and Olympic trials, then you need to do it. Right? It's the only time. Like everything after now, everything counts. Everything's really important.
Yep. And I think to your point about judges not telling or staff telling, the only person that did that in the old system was Marta. She would be like, "Don't ever do that triple back again. Don't do any double flip finger Chenkos. Take that out." And people would do it because they're like, "We want to make the team." She was the one that would say that.
Well, again, maybe another example of something that actually wasn't horrible about the last regime that
Yeah.
maybe has swung a little bit too far. And maybe, tone is a lot. How you say something is really important. The words you use is important. But if you're presenting it from these people are trying to get onto Team USA, and the goal of Team USA is to win the Olympics. Therefore, I think you do have a right to step in and give some pretty pointed feedback as to what skills you want to see and what skills you want to discourage.
Right.
Because ultimately, they are representatives of that organization, and your performance isn't just affecting you; it's affecting the 4 other people that are on the team with you.
Yep.
So
I want
you got to come together.
I want to look at some gifs of Suni's floor routine and talk about these. Because this is Suni's first floor back. She's like, obviously, this is not, what I'm going to do in the end. And I'm just glad I could do 4. And we're just using these examples of some questions that people asked, and also about like specifics of things that will get credit and won't get credit and things to improve. So the first is her turn at L. What do you see in this?
Yeah, no. Her foot hops at 1.5.
Yep. And she does wear a rhythmic shoe on floor. I'm 99% sure that she wears a rhythmic shoe.
But I mean, is it that noticeable? It more just like glides, but I like that doesn't concern me down the road.
Yeah,
but
I think it'll be fine later.
I think it'll be fine later.
This one
made me laugh.
Did she fall out of her wolf turn?
100%.
Yes.
Yes. Like she goes into like a yoga position, like she's almost in pigeon pose at the end of that.
Yes.
But I think it's funny because I feel like it happened on beam 2. It almost looked like triple was too easy and her body just wanted to keep going.
Yes.
Right? Because that was at about 3 and a bit. Like that was past triple. You know what? Suni to me can do no wrong. Again, I think I could watch her all day. She's so fluid. Her fluidity. Yes. The fluidity in her motions to me is like, it's unmatched by anybody else.
Yes.
Like it's like almost like snake-like, like her ability to just God, I haven't gushed enough about her. Again, somebody who when she puts her hand up to salute to the judge, you're like, okay, yeah, let's go. I'm ready. Like, where's my popcorn? Where's my drink? Like,
yes, so beautiful.
She is like visually stunning. She's a beautiful girl. She's beautiful. And then her ability to and I think that's what saves her from a lot of errors is her ability to adjust her body and not have like jerky reactions to anything. Everything has a fluidity to it. She lets an element finish fully. Like there's so much patience in everything she does.
Yes. Ugh. That's a good way to put it too. I love the moment in her floor routine where she does like a needle scale. She like kicks one leg up with her hands on the floor and then immediately stands up and does it's so beautiful. She kicks, bends one leg and puts her head back at the same time. And it's again like fluid, and it's the opposite of the motion she just did on the floor. Now she's doing it. She did it on her hands. Now she's doing it on one foot. It's so pretty. And I love that example of it's just really good moment of choreography and looks so good on her. I do want to point out some things about the how the meet played out, which is Jade won vault. Sky's second with her beautiful vaults. And third was Leanne Wong. So this is another case for Leanne and Sky. Like if Sky can stay on beam, her beam score is huge. Her bar score can be great when she stays on bars too. And her vaults are so pretty in the air. She has such good form. But I just want to mention that. And then Kalia Lincoln and Tiana Sumanaseka respectively beat the reigning Olympic champion on floor. Yeah. I know that this is not her final floor routine. She didn't do all of her tumbling and all of that stuff.
No, but I think it's good.
It's a good sign
for them. Absolutely. Like first, Kalia, she's awesome, right? Like that girl just needs a bit more time.
Yes.
Again, like for not to count her out for this year because I think a lot can happen. There's a lot to work with there. But to me, she looks more like a 2028, person, like building a little bit further. and Tiana, like that girl, like, yeah, she's pretty lovely to watch and very stable. She looks very stable, and I feel like she usually hits in the bigger moments, right? Like her errors don't tend to come at the meets where she's representing Team USA. They tend to come more on the lower end. So I think they probably do a really good job of peaking her.
Yeah.
But Jade, I have to gush about Jade. I'm obsessed with Jade. I think that's why I started this by putting her on my team.
Yep.
Is because I think that vault, first of all, I think an 8-7 was a bit too harsh.
Yep.
It was probably an 8-9, but to me that was 8-7 was a bit harsh on her Chung. Chung on her Chung was a bit harsh. And then I give it 2 more months, it'll be a 9-1, probably 9-2. So you're going to get like a 14-6, 14-7 first vault. And that double twist is ready to be halved and turned into an M&R, which is she puts those to her feet. To me, it's a guaranteed bronze.
Yep.
In the vault final. And then on floor, a 13-8, and she probably has 0.5 or 0.6 more difficulty that she can add. And
Yep.
Jade does harder skills better than she does the easier ones.
She does.
She's somebody who excels because she is a crazy acrobat.
Yes.
Like she is probably one of the most acrobatically gifted people to ever walk out onto a floor.
Yes.
Right? So for me, Jade, that floor routine will probably get closer to a 14-2 by the Olympics. Her vault's going to get more into like the 14-6, 14-7 range. And her bars, I feel so bad that she screwed up that pack full because, and this is a hill I'm willing to die on. Jade, to me, has the best pack full that's ever been done. Ever. The Bahardwaj. It has flight, it's clean, and it catches so close to handstand compared to other people. So many people catch it low and like fling out. When she just does it from an isolated swing, it is the full that catches like above horizontal. Like nobody does it like that. And you saw out of her toe full, her grip kind of fumbled.
Yeah.
And I think that's why the Bahardwaj was a bit screwed up. But when you put all that back in with her consistency, because she's dependable, you're talking, okay, I'll go a little lower on vault because you're going to get some hate mail over that prediction. I'll go 9-0. Okay. So 14-6, a mid 13 on bars, a mid 13 on beam, and a low 14 on floor. You're talking like a 56.
Yeah.
And somebody who, whenever she puts her hands up, you're just going to go, okay, it's not going to be a 14-5 on beam, but it's going to be a 13-4.
And she's going to stay on. And you can count on her. Yes. Right.
It's going to be a 13-4. And that's the one thing I think that, unfortunately, Blakely doesn't have to her. What doesn't help her, I don't think, is Simone's beam score is a mid-14. I think Suni's going to make that team. And her beam score is really high. And Sloane can score higher than Chiles if she nails it. But again, Chiles is a guaranteed 13-8 to 14-2.
Yep.
Right? Like we saw it all last year at Worlds. It doesn't waver. It's not like she's not amazing or she's off. So I don't think you're looking necessarily at having the next person be somebody who can have an outstanding beam score. You're looking for somebody who's not going to rock the boat anywhere.
Yep. Yes, exactly.
And this team, making the team's going to be hard. Deciding who competes on what events is going to be hard.
Yep.
Like, it would not be surprising if the U.S. only put up 2 all-arounders in qualifications.
Yep.
Because I don't know how you pick a third.
Right. And the way that you pick, let me tell you guys, remind you, if you haven't gone here yet, is go to the highest scoring team machine by the Washington
I haven't
Post.
looked at this yet.
Emily Giambalvo, oh my God. I'm obsessed with this. I have a screenshot in here that we can show of my highest scoring team. It's so hard because, like, if you go on what just happened, I'm like, okay, I'm not putting Cello on the team or Sky because, like, they didn't have their best meets. But then I also am like, well, if I want the highest scoring team, then I do want Sky on the team. Because if she hits beam and bars, like, it's great. And her floor is beautiful too. So my highest scoring team, 175.082. But if you use you can get higher than this. but it depends what you want. Where do you want the highest scoring, and who do you count on to always hit? So obviously it's like Simone and Shy. You're building the team around then. I'm just letting you know how to do it. Everybody at home. And then you can go through and choose from, like, mine is like the great beam team is who I put together. So Simone, Sky, Jade Carey, Shilese, and Suni, because I want the Simone, Suni, Sky beam in those scores. So but anyway, I love this machine, and everyone should use it and do it all the time, but it does take a little while to update. But if you follow Emily Giambalvo on Twitter or anywhere, she'll tell you when it's all updated and you can do it. I'm obsessed with this.
Yeah, it's super cool. I will say I'm not counting anybody out of this team. Like, I also just said that this meet meant absolutely nothing. So I built a 12-person squad that I would choose from.
Yeah.
Personally, I had Biles, Jones, Carey, Lee, Chiles, DeCello, Blakely, Wong, Cinema Sacra, Kaylor, Douglas, and Lincoln. And I know people probably don't think Gabby Douglas belongs on there, but again, USA Gymnastics, if you're doing any sort of promotion or like, you put her in. Yes. Also, I think putting her in scares the bejesus out of other people, and like, we'll keep them on guard because it's clear that she has the skills for it. Yeah. Because I think Gabby, to me, is interesting. I don't even care that she didn't make it on all 4 events. You know, if I was her and Larry, I'd go in being like, okay, we're gonna go be killer on vault, bars, and beam, because I have nothing to lose now. So my double twist, I'm gonna do an Aminar and show you that I can be a 14.5, 14.6, probably even higher potentially, because, you know, double twists land a bit shoulders down, so you get a deduction for your chest. You don't have that on a blind landing.
Yep.
Your chest is never low, so it inherently takes a few less deductions from that perspective. She doesn't get sloppier when she adds hard gymnastics. She always has her like pressed legs. And then, you know, she can score a mid 14, a low 14, and a high 13.
Right.
You're in a conversation.
Exactly. And she said,
and you wouldn't use her on floor anyways.
Right. And we need to see that floor routine, though, because it's hands down the best floor routine being done in the country right now. I also give the Artistry award to Simone Rose, Nola Mathews, and Tyler Turner. But Simone is, Gabby is at the top. Gabby's floor routine is at the top. It is so well done. It's such a grown-up routine. It's so beautiful. It's everything the code is trying to get everything. I put it in the neighborhood on the same street, the cul-de-sac next to Brooklyn Moore's. That's how good that routine is. They live on a cul-de-sac.
To say sack.
You know what's going to happen? Now, you know what happens when people come on this show? They get a marriage proposal. So you're going to get a marriage proposal from someone who's like, I'll teach you to swim, and come to what? No? Yes.
You already know. We already know who my marriage proposal is supposed to be from. I've been waiting 4 years for a marriage proposal from Spencer.
I know.
4 freaking years. I can't even DM that human. I have no contact information. And I've already told him he's my soulmate. And like,
I know. I want
it's to the point where I'm getting offended.
I know. Well, you should be. I'm also offended that he will not take my directions, as no one does. But I'm like, here's what you should do with your life: marry that person, change your career to this. I'm like, so I'm not allowed to even talk to him about it yet. I mean, I already have your wedding plan, but whatever.
Perfect, because I don't have any intention on doing any of that planning.
Right. Oh my God, that's what I had to give fact checker.
I'm here for it.
The wedding he wanted, because I was like, do whatever. We even had like a big cake. I was like, oh, this is such a waste of money.
Okay, you can plan my wedding. I just want to pick my own suit because I already know what it's going to be. Everything else, I don't care. I truly don't care. But it needs to happen because I need everybody I've bought a wedding present for to pay me back by buying me one. So pretty soon I'm going to marry myself.
Do what Carrie, what's her name on
Sex and the City? I plan on it. Carrie Bradshaw. Yeah.
She was like, to all the gifts I've given you for your family and things, you can replace these nice shoes for me. I was like, that's very fair, I think. Yes.
That's a great idea.
Back when that show was good. Okay. Opportunities.
Whoa.
Oh, the new, I can't even watch the new version. It's so bad. We
can't be friends.
Oh my God. The Miranda love character.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
We can talk about this on behind the scenes, but I do want to talk about opportunities for comedy. This is obviously the most important part of the show. So number 1, Trinity Thomas, who did a great job here, except for beam, which Wolf turned to stupid and she fell twice and then she scratched floor. But she's qualified to championships. Don't worry about it. She did it up a layout, and
No, that's amazing.
Her coach's foot got caught on the sting mat and he tripped and fell over. And it was hilarious. He is just dancing next to her. This is the thing. He never misses the spot. He falls
I know. I was about to say,
ass.
Can we talk about how he did anything to keep her alive? Meanwhile, he's plummeting off the podium to his death.
Yes. This is when you know it's a
so
great
It's
spot.
the worst, right?
Yeah.
Because he knew he knew it was happening. Like, he caught his foot and was like, oh, here we go. Like, this is, and he knows there's cameras, so he's like, well, I'm gonna see this tomorrow. I'm never gonna hear the end of this.
Oh my God, I love it so much. I wish the camera had been turned more. I hope one of the documentary crews has this and can just make a
oh yeah, I want to see the end. Like, but it's kind of more dramatic that he just like flies out of the screen.
Out of the screen, yeah. So the things that are happening while this is happening, Jade Carey's just standing there clapping. Like, there he goes. Yeah. I mean, maybe she was clapping for Adrian, but it was basically Trinity, but basically when Adrian was falling over. Adrian just laid there, asked Trinity for help up, and then he stood up and took a bow while she's laughing at him for the other college coaches who are in the stands clapping for him. But that's the thing, he never missed the spot. He never missed the spot.
Nope. No, he was good the whole time.
Yep. My favorite moment, opportunity for comedy. And I mean, like, this is a true, like, this is when you see the true grit of elite athletes. Like, it's hilarious. But these are the gymnasts who don't give up. Either they're so physically talented that they don't need to do this kind of thing, or they're the kind of human being that never gives up and will not stop no matter what at any cost. And this is what we saw with Norah Christian, which is the most hilarious thing. She catches her Tkachev to mixed grip and is so close to the bar. And then she basically does dead spider backwards position into a Yasova, but catches the bar. Like, her feet are now crunched up behind her, so she, hits her knees on the ground. But the Tkachev to dead spider half turn, a moment of comedy I will never forget. I laughed out loud. It was so great. And she kept going. It's to see the grit of an elite. Watch this moment.
I watched this and I remember watching being like, oh, that's too bad. But at the same time, I watched it thinking, wow, there's a lot of potential in this girl.
Yes.
Like, truly, I think she was rattled. I think she started that routine with like Kip Kat's handstand and she went over.
Yeah.
So I think she was just like rattled. But then, like, after watching her, I was like, well, she's an aggressive person. She swings aggressively. She's clearly like ballsy, right? Like, she's attacking. And then they showed her floor routine also on the YouTube. She was in Subdivision 1, I think. And again, there was like a lot to work with there.
Yep.
That one stood out to me. That girl stood out to me as like someone who, if she can figure it out, there's going to be something there.
Yep. She definitely has, like, when she hits her positions, they're beautiful. Like, she has the training and the skills. Her coaches use and have a that Apple headset thing where you can draw lines in the sky. I've never seen any other coaches use it, but her coaches use it on bars while they watch her. And I love that they use this. And Apple Vision Pro. And it would be interesting to know, I've talked about this before because they use it at Winter Cup, and it would be interesting to know if other coaches, I mean, and when you're a coach, you just can make the lines in your head, and a gymnast, you see all the angles and all that. But I would really like to know more about that because I like it a lot.
Yeah, that's super interesting, right? Like, using technology to your friend, and maybe that would also be good for them to be able to show her as well, right? Like, that could be a great tool for a visual athlete. That's super interesting. I've never played with one of those. Like, I am not tech savvy. You could tell I was like 7 minutes late for this interview because I couldn't even download. Like, it's so embarrassing. So I couldn't, like, with an Apple Vision Pro, I would just be confused. But resources. Everybody has to use their resources and the ones that make sense for them. So props to that coach.
Yep.
It's an expensive toy, though.
It is a very expensive toy. But it was interesting because I was watching all the people that missed their whatever their low bar shapash transition was, whether it was out of a Stalder, which Kalia Lincoln does so beautifully, her Stalder work. But or it was I think Sky missed hers too. And I was just watching the angles which when they push up from the low bar and where their feet are. And I was like, I wish I could just draw a line to show people why they've missed this, because they shot too far away from the high bar and not up enough. And that's the kind of thing with the Apple Vision Pro. You can just be like, boop, see this, and draw a line. And there's lots of programs that do this, but
that's interesting, because that's why also making sure you're training on the different set of equipment is crucial, because there's certain bars that like circle you when you swing and like throw you in every direction. There's some bars that only throw you up and down. And so, you want to make sure that you're training on the equipment that's going to be close to the Olympic equipment. So you want it to, because something as simple as staying on the bar for a millisecond longer because the bar doesn't have like any side wiggle is crucial on all those transitioning elements. Or in some bars are just stiffer. And so sometimes you have to just apply more force. And so or you'll see errors like that.
Yeah, and that's why like podium training is so important, because you literally have to change your technique and timing depending on the equipment, and then being on podium and all of those things that are different. So
you need adaptability. Adaptability is your friend.
That's what I was the worst at gymnastics. Adapt? No, the ceiling's too high. It makes me scared. Literally, the height of the ceiling would freak me out. This is, why I could never, besides absolutely no physical gifts, I could never have done that. Yes.
I think you found your calling from a gymnastics perspective. So I think it all worked out for you.
It did work out for me.
Just saying.
And I can do a gainer back dive. So when you learn to swim, I'll teach you this. It's terrifying.
Yeah, you're not selling it very well. I'm not doing it.
The first time I did it? What?
Because I'm not very good at it.
Oh, I understand. I understand that. I have no problem humiliating myself. So that's my gift, really. That's my true gift, is not caring if I suck. The first time I did the gainer back dive off a diving board, I'll never do it off a beam. That's nuts. I literally screamed and bent my legs and just arched backwards and belly flopped. And then I was like, oh, I didn't die. I can do it now. That's how
Well, the scream part was the right reaction.
It's terrifying. But then I was like, oh, okay, I got it now. But I didn't care that everyone stopped what they were doing and turned and looked at who's the grown-up that just screamed and belly flopped.
Yeah, because whatever. Who cares? Get over it.
So other moments, opportunities for comedy. Kieryn Finnell gave us a beautiful moment on vault when she did a nice 1.5 and then just took 15 steps off the side and fell off the mat onto the podium. She didn't do a full Purvis. She didn't roll over onto the judges off the podium, but she did fall off the mat onto the podium. So shout out to you, Kieryn, for joining the club. They should have jackets like Saturday Night Live. You're in the, the fall off the mat onto the podium in front of the judges club.
She should have just like high-fived them,
I like that.
When she was so close. She should have been like, here, thanks for judging me.
Thank you for being here. We couldn't do the sport without judges. Thank you so much. We couldn't get scores without
you. Or just like, do you want to grab a coffee later? Or, do you want to talk about this? She could have pretended she was like getting therapy, like being, or funnier, she should have like gone into a position and said, paint me like one of your French girls.
She probably doesn't even know that movie. She was probably born like 20 years after that movie
for
came
sure.
out.
That's 1997.
Yeah,
that's
I don't know. Whoever lays on their side and puts their arm behind you. I hate that movie, by the way. I hate it so much. Another controversial opinion. Okay. Oh, I can't stand it. Everyone's an asshole. Everyone is an asshole. Except for what's his name. And
you were talking about Tapestry earlier. So, like, Tapestry was all, like, 1910s and 1920s.
I know. Well, that's
you should like that movie.
Okay. Other updates. Don't write emails. I don't care if you, don't like that I don't like Titanic. It's also terrifying. Okay. Miley Liu missed the meet with a sore back, but she's already qualified to championships, so she should be back. The deadline to petition to championships is May 24th, but I'm sure many of those petitions are already in. But we'll let you know as soon as we find out. There's only some people asked who had qualified or failed to qualify this season, and the gymter.net, Laurent has a great list up, so you can check it out. This is why we link to Lauren's site and give credit to
She's
her
amazing.
every single time, because she does such a great job. So if you love what she's doing, like we do, you should also do a little contribution to her site, because if this goes away, no one's doing it. Laurent has to keep doing this. She's so
phenomenal.
great. Yeah. But anyway, the only people that didn't qualify were Izzy, Stasi, McMahon, and Konnor. So otherwise, those are like the people that, because everyone made it to championships basically, because the score's so low. Yeah, because they lowered the score halfway through the season, and now there's 45 people at championships. Yeah. Yeah. What do you think
I just
about?
hope they seed it.
Yeah.
I hope they seed the subdivisions.
What do you think of how they did it at Classic? Because if you're on a world team, you got to be in the second session, and with some extra people who weren't on a world team.
I didn't really love it. I think for me, I really just wanted to see Simone Rose and Jayla hang. Like, they just had recent international assignments that went quite well for them, and they're very. I think they're very much part of the next gen conversation for the US.
Yep.
And so to me, it was a bit of a missed opportunity to really test how they look compared to that top field. And also to start preparing them for what it's like to compete next to the top field.
Yep. This is why I feel like they should have let Melanie compete again, because Melanie competed at Classic last year, but they were, people didn't like that she got so much attention. It's like, it's good for people to see. I think I'm a really good elite gymnast. And then you're next to elite, and then you're next to Melanie. I mean, Dulcie Kaler talked about this. She's like, I needed a wake-up call in her interview with Olympic Channel. I needed a wake-up call. She thought she was doing well, and look at her, how she is now. And she's in the gym with the best in the world every day. So
yeah, gymnastics, I think, does need to change that a little. You look at sports like baseball, hockey, the NFL, like, you have people, I know it's different because they don't compete in their country, but they will train and compete with the best regardless of their nationality.
Yes.
And they combine the team in hopes of pushing everyone forward. And that kind of trade-off doesn't seem to happen enough. Now, like, it's happening a lot at World Champions. Like, you always see posts of, they're very inclusive. They're allowing a ton of people to visit them, which is great for the sport, right? It's great for everybody. It's great for their athletes. One, it keeps them on their toes, and keeps them, like, pushing forward. But then it's also great for those other teams to just see how different people train and to be exposed to that training environment. It's not enough knowledge sharing happens in our sport, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's getting better though.
Yeah, I hope it is. I love what WCC is doing. I want to make sure there's nothing I missed from. I talked about Jordan
I don't know
Chiles.
what you missed, but we've definitely talked about
We've talked about so many things. Jordan Chiles came back like no time had passed. She said that.
Oh yeah.
She likes to be angry. That's when she does well. And Cecile was like, yeah, angry Jordan is good Jordan. Here's what Jordan said.
I think the biggest thing that I do is sometimes it's like I go back in time to where I felt like I wasn't seen in this sport. And so in order for me to be like, Jordan wasn't this, Jordan wasn't that, it brings me to a point where, I'm going to go out here and kind of show everybody that I am, that Jordan, and I can kind of express it differently.
Yeah, Jordan, I think, just needs a bit more. She just needs a bit of time. She has it. She doesn't need experience.
No.
That girl knows how to do it.
Yep.
She's really freaking good.
She's so freaking good, so talented, and has been for so long. She's had this. It's just like putting it together. Leanne Wong had a fall on beam. So that'll be erased and she'll be fine. And then I feel like she's going to be right up there in the highest scoring team machine in the Washington Post again.
That's the thing. I think this team has, like, the guaranteed 2. I think you could probably lock up 3 or 4 of them right now.
Yeah.
And then Good luck.
I know. Then,
Good
well,
luck.
good luck. Hopefully, they're not going by rank all around order, because that would be obviously the wrong thing to do for 3 of 3 count.
No, I hope not. I hope not. But one thing that's great about this team is definitely, no matter who's actually selected and who's brought on as alternate, there will be no concern that an alternate cannot fulfill a good supportive role, because they're so interchangeable at this point.
Yep,
And
I agree.
they're phenomenal. This group is outstanding. It's impossible to pick.
Yes, they're all so freaking good. I mean, everyone's like, this is the hardest team to make. No, this is really the hardest team to make. And the alternates should be super, super stoked to be like, yeah, this is how I was an alternate to Simone Biles. Like, that's literally what you can say.
I think that's one of the biggest keys to American success over the, okay, I know there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that was total trash and garbage, but I do feel like those athletes all felt like they contributed to the team even if they didn't make it. They know that team only got good because they were pushing them so aggressively, and because they made them have to work for making that team. And when USA wins team gold, it's the US program that wins team gold. And there doesn't seem to be very many of the this team's only the right team if my kid's on the team kind of personalities.
Really?
That's what I find when you look at it. It could be another thing behind the scenes, but they all know that they're good enough, and it's kind of just going to be who turns it out when it matters the most.
I'm glad it appears that way from the outside, because I don't think it's
it does appear like that from the outside.
That's good. I want to get to some Gymternet news. So we have some breaking news right now in constant vigilance news that USA Gymnastics is being sued in connection with a born sexual abuse. This is BOERNE Gymnastics Center. So there's the suit names Michael Spiller, who is now in prison, who was at Born Gymnastics, which the suit says failed to protect the victims. Japanese Olympic team have been named. So the women's team, Miyata, Rina, Mana, Haruka, and Kohani. Men's team will be Kazuma Kaya with the hair and the crazy faces. Kazuma Kaya. Oka has made the team. Takagi, Wataru, and of course Hashimoto Daiki, the Olympic champion. Duh, he was always going to make the team. So this is very late for them to be announcing the team. Normally it's 6 months before I feel like they announce it, but
what's happening?
Yeah.
Bureaucracy?
I don't know why it's so late. Maybe they actually want them to have a rest. I asked Simone Rose and Jayla Hang about their experience at Pack Rims in Colombia, and here's what they had to say.
Yeah, Colombia was a really crazy experience, and I think we went through so many ups and downs getting into the competition, and just being able to prove to myself that no matter what happens in the trainings and stuff, I can still come back and show that I can still hit a good competition.
Can you give some specific examples of the things that happened?
Yeah, there was a lot of crazy weather that happened, and that led to power outages, and the lights turned off, there was fire alarms that went off, and it was raining inside the auditorium and stuff, and it was kind of crazy.
That was Jayla, and here's Simone.
So the first practice, we were in the back gym, and the equipment was different than what we were used to, and then we went out there to the main arena, and the weather was kind of crazy. Towards the end of the day, every day, it would be torrential downpour, and it would like leak into the arena. They had to cover the vault at one point because it was like getting wet, and like I remember the runway being pretty wet sometimes and like almost like slipping on it. And then we went like to beam, and I remember the fire alarm going off. We weren't sure why, and then the power went out for a little bit. Also not really sure why, but I feel like we still did beam routines through all of the things going on, and being able to like do a beam routine while there's an annoying like fire alarm really like I feel like helped my confidence, because I knew that like I could focus, and even though with all these distractions happening, I still did really well.
Just to clarify, it was after they established there was no fire, and that's why they didn't know why the fire alarm was going off, and that is when they did their beam routines. So they weren't ignoring a fire alarm. Morgan Price was honored by the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. Owen Field has been promoted to associate head coach of the Gator gymnastics team. They had 3 gymnasts. Florida did at a classic this past week. Will Graves, I told you guys about Will Graves of the AP's story that was coming out about Simone Biles. It's so good. He talks about it's really about like where she is now, and I think it's a story that shows how mental health, just like your health, is not something that's just taken care of. You always have to maintain your health. You can't just stop, and that's ongoing. And he interviews Simone's mom, and she talks about what happened behind the scenes at Worlds. And it was not all shiny and bright. It was not all perfect. Like Simone struggled. And so I will link to that story, and I highly recommend everybody listen to it so you can find out what happened, because it almost didn't happen. Livy Dunn was an answer on Jeopardy. Oh, this is so great. Talking about the gymnasts with private jets. And obviously, you guys, just so we don't get the letters, obviously all private jets should be electric or run on renewable energy. Obviously, they shouldn't all belong to billionaires. They should all belong to gymnasts and people that are doing the right things in the world, like us. So, Simone's documentary has been announced. Netflix bought it, which I'm so excited about because her Facebook documentary was so good, but I feel like people didn't see it because it was on Facebook. But the last documentary was great. It's done by the same people. It's called Rising, and it's going to be on Netflix. So it is set to debut ahead of the Paris Olympics. So 2 episodes will drop. I think it's the day before we leave for the Olympics. So it's like July 19th, I think. 2 episodes. And then the next 2 will be after the games are over. So I'm so excited. Yes, I'm so excited, you guys. Gonna be on Netflix. The dates aren't locked exactly. But we think those are around like the week before the Olympics or the week before we leave for the Olympics. I don't even know when the Olympics starts. I just know when we get on a plane. You know.
July 27th is qualifications.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Selena Harris was dismissed from the UCLA gymnastics team. She has entered the transfer portal. And all I'll say about that is really like, it's hard to get kicked off a gymnastics team, especially at teams that follow the rules when you're the very best gymnast. And I also would say that sometimes people decide they just are over it and want to do their own thing, and this is not for them, and so they do what they want. That's what I would say. So I wish her the best, and I hope she finds somewhere she's really happy with. But I would also say, this is not because of the staff. This is not something the coaches did. Like, this is not something that's like, how could they do this to Selena? She decided to break the rules. She decided to not do the things that are required to be on an NCAA gymnastics team. So I don't, there's many things there's many problems in the world. The UCLA gymnastics coaches are not one of the problems that are existing in the world. It's like that's not where we're at. Okay. Bigger things. Sophie Shader has retired at age 27, so citing injury problems. So I'm bummed. She's had such a great career and is a wonderful person and always lovely to see at Worlds. So Sophie Shader of Germany has decided.
How great, though. How great that she can retire at 27.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like, that's like good for her. Good for her for being out there as a grown woman. And, she delivered great results up until this set of injuries, right? So, no, amazing. I'm honestly amazing. But when I hear those things, I'm so excited for gymnastics. Not the retirement because of injury. The idea that people get to do that at 27 and not 17.
Yes. And I love, like, we are one of those countries now, finally, where you can go to the Olympics after you have a degree, after you have a career, and you can still have this dream. I mean, women's team was older than the men's team at the last go around. The women's team is older than the men's team. Like, this is how it should be. Yeah. We're going in all the right directions. So if you have any questions for us, you can send them into gymcastic@gmail.com. If you need any help with your Club Gym Nerd membership, you can email customer service at gymcastic.com. And of course, we have Club Gym Nerd members have their own little private spot in the forum, the VIP section. And there's also people are always looking for tickets. I met some people that found their tickets in the forum on GymCastic, so they could get tickets to some of these meets. So if you have tickets, there's a way to DM each other now, so you can offload your tickets. And don't forget to get your tickets for the live show at Olympic Trials. Premium are already sold out. They sold out before they even the Club Gym Nerd people's discount even went away. So those are gone. But yeah, it's very exciting. It's gonna be so fun. And I just want to thank Denis so much for being here. Thank you so much for helping and filling in.
You're welcome. And to your regular audience, don't worry. I also look forward to the day where I am not filling in anymore. And please tell Spencer that we miss him and that I hope he's feeling better.
I will do that. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you for all the work that you're doing for Paris 2024, because I know it's in good hands with you there. And I'm so glad that you're there. I really appreciate it and everyone's hard work.
Thank you.
Send your marriage proposals and swim lesson proposals to gymcastic@gmail.com, and I will forward them on to Denis. And
oh my God. And I think I want to be an NCAA coach.
Oh, you guys, yes. I think that would be a very good idea, because you don't have any plans after Paris, right? Currently, except for yes, let's make this happen. Okay, you guys.
Well, except for learning how to swim, apparently.
Yeah, well, you know what? They have classes in college, so maybe it'll work out both ways.
No, because then I'd be like a Mean Girls thing. People would be like, "You don't even go here," and I'd be like, "Oh, I just have a lot of feelings."
I feel like anyone who's learning to swim in college will not be shitting on the other people in the class.
True.
Okay.
Good point.
Yes, that's right. All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you so much, Denis, for filling in. We'll be back on Friday for our regular behind the scenes, and I'll tell you all the stories about our terrible Airbnb and all the other things that happened. Oh, you guys. I saw something on the plane I have never seen in my life, and I had to post. It's horrifying, you guys.
I saw the story, and I don't want to talk about it.
Right. It's
so thankful that's not on this episode.
Oh my God. So I'll see you guys at noon Pacific with a surprise guest behind the scenes, and we'll answer all the questions that we didn't get to in the last 3 episodes about US Classic. I will answer them over there on behind the scenes. Until Friday at noon Pacific, remember to take off on gay, split on rights. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much to Denis. We'll see you on Friday at noon Pacific for behind the scenes. Thanks for listening.